The customer pays for everything. Hello and welcome to the Durham Talents channel. My name is Jesse Durham. We're back for another installation of our quotes series. Today we're going to discuss a quote from Henry Ford when he said, "It's not the employer who pays the wages. Employers only handle the money. It is the customer who pays the wages." So again, the customer pays for everything. Now think about this, whether it's the government, whether it's a company, regardless, okay, we have a need for products and services. Yes? Okay. So regardless of the factor and regardless of the entity, the customer pays for everything. Here's what I mean. Entity could be the government, could be a company, what have you. The factor could be taxation. Okay, so if the government has a need for something, and they do, the government must subsist off of the customer. So see, that's what I'm saying, is that if the government has a need, the people, the customer, pays for it. Okay, if a company has some rise in taxation, again, we'll stick with taxation just for an example. It could be inflation, it could be some other things that we can discuss. But if a company has a new tax imposed upon it, let's say, or more taxation, who does that really pass to, that cost? The customer, of course, okay? So I hope that you're catching on here. So whether it's taxation, whether it's inflation, or any other variable, at the end of the day, the customer pays for everything. The customer is not just paying for a pen. The customer is paying for everything that went into that. A company's overhead, the cost of distribution, the cost of acquisition. Actually, on that point of cost of acquisition, I did make a note here, of course, in page 68, for those that would like to reread that section in particular on this thought that the customer pays for everything. Nash has on page 68 some information about the cost of acquisition. It's very important. I encourage you to reread that. If you've never read Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash, it's the book. It is the book about this idea of becoming your own banker, okay, of infinite banking. So there are some examples there. I'll let you read those. But at the end of the day, when we do recognize that the customer pays for everything, here's where some important points, some philosophies, some principles from R. Nelson Nash's book become even more important. See, principle number 1 from Nash is think long range. Let's use an example here. Gas. What did gas cost 50 years ago? What did gas cost 5 years ago? What does it cost today? What might gas cost 5 years from now or 50 years from now? Do you see what I'm saying there? So the longer range we think, the better positioned we're going to be to account for this reality that the customer pays for everything. Okay. Another principle from Nash is don't be afraid to capitalize. Now, why? So that's the second one. Don't be afraid to capitalize. It's so important to wrap your mind around the fact that you can use depreciating dollars, a depreciating currency, okay, to fund appreciating assets. Wherein in the future, now also, but in the future, you're going to have uninhibited access, contractual access, to a growing, compounding pool of capital for your whole life. Now, the product, of course, that facilitates that is a properly structured whole life policy with a mutual company that pays dividends. Those are the types of policies that I write for our clients, of course, and those are the entities. That is the ideal asset for a banking entity, for you to be able to privatize your banking. So rule number 2 from Nash, that second principle anyway, not being afraid to capitalize. Of course, we should be capitalizing this entity wherein we're going to be better positioned in the future to account for the rising costs of goods and services because the the consumer does pay for everything. So, of course, there are other principles from Nash. Suffice it to say, when we know that the consumer pays for everything, it does behoove us to think long range. It does behoove us to capitalize our own banking system. Let me get to another one. One of Nash's other 5 principles is don't do business with banks. Now, think about this. Think about your town, okay? Those credit unions, those banks in your town, aren't they the nicest buildings in the nicest parts of town, well-kept grounds, beautiful people inside, okay? Who pays for that? The consumers, of course, the consumers. So again, that's an area where we've abdicated, okay, a responsibility and an opportunity to be more profitable, to have more control, many factors for ourselves, okay, by being beholden to the conventional banking system. I'm here to promote the idea that you can become your own banker, that you can reacquire that control, that you can reacquire that profitability and be better positioned for the whole rest of your life and future generations. You can set them up with a completely different financial paradigm by becoming your own banker yourself. So I hope that this has been thought-provoking and encouraging. If you haven't read Nash's book, I encourage you to read his book. If we've never talked, I've got a recorded presentation that I offer for free. It's on our YouTube channel, website. And you can have a free consultation call with me about what you learned there. So I'm going to encourage you to check out our free presentation and to get in my calendar if you have questions about becoming your own banker. The website is www.durhamtalents.com. And I look forward to that conversation. I hope you have a great day. Take care. Fantastic.